the girl who would become a goddess in the sun-drenched streets of Naples in 1934. A child was born who would one day hold Hollywood's darkest secrets in her trembling hands. Sophia Villani, 6 millennia later, to become the immortal Sophia Loren, a world already steeped in shadows. Her mother Romilda had once dreamed of stardom herself, but those dreams had been crushed by the very machine that would later both elevate and torment her. Daughter. Growing up in poverty during World War II, young Sophia witnessed things that no child should ever see. The war wasn't just fought on battlefields, it raged in the streets, in homes, and later, she would discover, in the plush offices of Hollywood executives. I learned early that beauty could be both a blessing and a curse, Loren recently confessed, her voice carrying the weight of decades. In Naples, we survived by any means necessary. Little did I know that Hollywood would demand the same terrible compromises. The transformation from Sophia to Sophia began in Rome, where producer Carlo Ponti first laid eyes on the stunning teenager. But what seemed like a fairy tale discovery was, according to Loren's recent revelations, the beginning of her initiation into Hollywood's most guarded circular world, where dreams came true, but at a price that would haunt her for the rest of her life. The contracts she signed weren't just about movies. They were about silence, complicity, and keeping Hollywood's darkest machinery running smoothly. When Dreams Become Nightmares, 1957, marked Sophia Loren's official arrival in Hollywood. But the woman who stepped off that plane at LAX was already carrying secrets that would make seasoned journalists weep. The studio system wasn't just a business model, it was, according to Loren's shocking testimony, a carefully orchestrated web of control that extended far beyond the silver screen. They didn't just want your talent, Loren reveals, her hands still trembling as she recalls those early days. They wanted your soul, your silence, and your complicity in things that would destroy lesser people. The glamorous parties, the exclusive premieres, the private dinners with powerful men, they were all part of what she now calls the initiation. Behind the glittering facade of 1950s Hollywood lay a network so sophisticated, so deeply embedded in the industry's DNA, that challenging it meant career suicide or worse. Loren describes walking into meetings where the real business of Hollywood was conducted, not in boardrooms, but in private estates hidden in the Hollywood Hills. The movies were just the front, she whispers. The real power came from what happened when the cameras stopped rolling. The young Italian actress quickly learned that her stunning beauty and undeniable talent were just entry tickets to a much darker game. Studio heads didn't just control careers, they controlled lives, secrets, and the very narratives that would define Hollywood's golden age. And Sophia Loren, whether she wanted to or not, was about to become both witness and participant in Hollywood's most carefully guarded conspiracy. Where legends were made and souls were sold by 1960. Sophia Loren wasn't just another beautiful face in Hollywood. She had been inducted into what she now describes as the inner circle, a shadowy network of industry titans who wielded power that extended far beyond entertainment. These weren't just studio executives and directors. They were puppet masters orchestrating a system that would shape culture, politics, and public opinion for decades to come. The meetings happened in places you'd never expect, Loren reveals, her voice barely above a whisper, private dining rooms beneath the most exclusive restaurants, hidden chambers in century-old mansions, even underground facilities that officially didn't exist. The attendees read like a who's who of Hollywood royalty, names that would shock the world if Loren were to reveal them all. But some secrets, she admits, died with their keepers. The inner circle's power wasn't just about making movies, it was about controlling narratives on a global scale. According to Loren's testimony, they had direct lines to government officials, foreign dignitaries, and shadowy organizations whose very existence was classified. We weren't just entertainers, she confesses, we were unknowing agents in something much larger and more terrifying than any of us could have imagined. The initiation rituals, the blood oaths, the photographs taken as insurance. Loren describes a world where Hollywood's biggest stars were both the most powerful and the most vulnerable people on earth. They could command millions at the box office, but they were prisoners to secrets that could destroy not just careers, but entire governments. And for Sophia Loren, the realization of what she had become part of would haunt her for the next 6 decades. When success demands the unthinkable, as Sophia Loren's star ascended to unprecedented heights in the early 1960s, so did the demands placed upon her by Hollywood's shadow network. Her Oscar win for Two Women in 1962 wasn't just a career triumph, it was, according to her recent confessions, a celebration that came with strings attached to the darkest corners of the entertainment industry. They celebrated my success publicly, but privately, they owned me, Loren reveals, her eyes distant with painful memories. Every major role, every prestigious project, every career-defining moment came with a price that had nothing to do with acting. The price, she now admits, was participation in activities that would have destroyed her if they had ever become public activities that connected Hollywood's elite to networks, spanning from Wall Street to foreign intelligence agencies. The legendary actress describes being flown to private islands, exclusive resorts, and hidden compounds where the real business of Hollywood was conducted. These weren't just parties, they were gatherings where blackmail material was created, where political alliances were forged, and where the future of global entertainment was decided by people whose names never appeared in credits. I watched colleagues disappear. Loren confesses, her voice breaking, not physically, but spiritually. They became hollow versions of themselves. Brilliant performers whose souls had been systematically extracted by this machine we had all sold ourselves. Tupto. Some tried to resist. She reveals they were either destroyed professionally or, in cases that were covered up as accidents, removed permanently from the equation. Evidence that could topple governments, perhaps the most chilling aspect of Sophia Loren's revelation centers around what she calls the blackmail files, a comprehensive collection of compromising material on virtually every major figure in Hollywood, politics, and international business dating back to the 1950s. These weren't simple photos or recordings. They were elaborate dossiers that could, in the wrong hands, topple governments and destroy entire industries. They filmed everything, Loren reveals, her hands shaking as she recalls the sophisticated surveillance systems hidden throughout Hollywood's most exclusive venues. Every conversation, every indiscretion, every moment of weakness was captured and cataloged. And we all knew it was happening, but we were too afraid to speak up. The files weren't just used for control, they were traded like currency among the world's most powerful individuals, foreign governments, intelligence agencies, criminal organizations, and corporate titans. All had access to material that could destroy their enemies or protect their interests. Hollywood had become, according to Loren's testimony, the world's most sophisticated blackmail operation, disguised as an entertainment industry. I saw presidents brought to their knees by footage that should never have existed, she whispers. I watched as decisions that affected millions of lives were made not in congressional chambers, but in viewing rooms where these files were screened for the right audience. The implications of her revelations extend far beyond Hollywood. They suggest a level of corruption and control that has shaped world events for over half a century. When Hollywood became a global weapon as the 1960s progressed, Sophia Loren found herself increasingly entangled in what she now describes as an international conspiracy that used Hollywood as its primary weapon for global influence. The movie industry wasn't just entertainment, it was a sophisticated propaganda machine that shaped public opinion, influenced elections, and even triggered international conflicts. We were cultural ambassadors, but for an agenda we didn't fully understand. Loren confesses, my films weren't just movies, they were carefully crafted messages designed to influence how people thought about everything from politics to morality to international relations. The star reveals that scripts were often written not by screenwriters, but by psychologists and intelligence operatives who understood the power of subliminal messaging. The conspiracy extended to international film festivals, co-production deals with foreign governments, and strategic releases timed to coincide with political events. Cannes, Venice, the Oscars, they weren't just celebrating cinema, she reveals. They were forums where international policy was discussed and implemented through cultural influence. Loren describes meetings with foreign officials who openly discussed using Hollywood productions to destabilize governments, promote specific ideologies, and even prepare public opinion for military actions. We thought we were artists, she says, tears streaming down her face. But we were weapons in a war most people didn't even know was being fought. When fame demands blood, one of the most disturbing aspects of Sophia Loren's revelations involves what she describes as the sacrificial system, a network of ritualistic practices that Hollywood's elite used to maintain their power and control. These weren't metaphorical sacrifices. They were, according to her testimony, real ceremonies that demanded real prices from those who participated. They called it feeding the machine. Loren reveals, her voice barely audible. Every major success, every career milestone, every breakthrough moment required a sacrifice. Sometimes it was your integrity, sometimes your relationships, but sometimes, he pauses, unable to continue for several moments. Sometimes it was something much more permanent. The legendary actress describes being present at ceremonies held in locations that ranged from private estates to ancient temples that had been secretly acquired by Hollywood power brokers. These gatherings combined elements of various occult traditions with modern psychological manipulation techniques, creating experiences that bound participants through shared trauma and guilt. They made sure we were all complicit, she explains. Once you participated, you couldn't expose them without exposing yourself. We were all trapped in a web of mutual destruction that kept everyone silent. The system was so effective that it operated for decades without a single major exposure. Till now, Hollywood's role in psychological warfare, perhaps the most shocking element of Sophia Loren's confessions, involves Hollywood's direct participation in government-sponsored mind control experiments. The entertainment industry wasn't just aware of programs like McCultrit was, according to her testimony, an active testing ground for techniques designed to manipulate mass consciousness. They used us as both test subjects and delivery systems. Loren reveals, describing her participation in what she thought were acting workshops but were actually psychological conditioning sessions. We were taught techniques that seemed like method acting, but were actually ways to bypass people's critical thinking and implant specific ideas directly into their subconscious. The experiments extended to movie audiences, with films deliberately crafted to test the effectiveness of various psychological manipulation techniques. Hidden subliminal messages, specific sound frequencies, and carefully timed visual cues were embedded in major Hollywood productions to measure their impact on viewer behavior and beliefs. We weren't just entertaining people, she confesses. We were reprogramming them. Every major film release was essentially a mass psychology experiment, and we were the unwitting assistants in rewiring human consciousness on a global scale. The implications of these revelations suggest that decades of popular culture have been deliberately designed to shape human behavior in ways that most people never suspected. How whistleblowers were neutralized throughout her decades in Hollywood. Sophia Loren witnessed numerous attempts by industry insiders to expose the dark network she's now revealing. However, as she grimly testifies, these whistleblowers were systematically neutralized through a sophisticated system of intimidation, discreditation, and elimination. They had protocols. Loren explains, her voice heavy with guilt. First, they would try to buy your silence. Then they would threaten your career. If that didn't work, they would destroy your reputation, make you look crazy or unreliable. And if you still persisted, she trails off, unable to finish the thought. The network employed former intelligence operatives, private security firms, and even criminal organizations to ensure that dangerous information never reached the public. Journalists who got too close to the truth found their sources disappearing, their evidence mysteriously vanishing, and their own lives becoming increasingly difficult. I watched good people, talented, brave people get systematically destroyed for trying to tell the truth. Loren confesses. Some ended up in psychiatric facilities, others simply disappeared, and a few met with what were officially ruled as accidents. The fear of meeting the same fate kept her silent for over 6 decades, until her recent decision to finally speak out despite the potential consequences. Hollywood's role in human exploitation. One of the most horrifying aspects of Sophia Loren's revelations involves Hollywood's connection to international human trafficking networks. The entertainment industry, she testifies, wasn't just complicit in these operations, it was a primary facilitator, using its global reach and legitimate business operations as cover for illegal activities. The casting couch was just the beginning. Loren reveals, her voice trembling with emotion. What people saw in the tabloids was nothing compared to what was really happening behind closed doors. Young people, boys and girls, were being systematically exploited, and the entire industry knew it was happening. The network operated through seemingly legitimate talent agencies, modeling schools, and production companies that served as fronts for operations spanning multiple continents. Children and young adults were promised stardom but were instead inducted into a system of exploitation that served the darkest desires of Hollywood's most powerful figures. I was forced to witness things that will haunt me until my dying day, Loren confesses, and the worst part is that I was powerless to stop it. Anyone who tried to intervene was quickly removed from the equation, either through intimidation or worse. Her testimony suggests a level of systematic abuse that goes far beyond anything previously suspected about Hollywood's treatment of vulnerable individuals. When Hollywood controlled elections, Sophia Loren's most explosive political revelations center on Hollywood's direct role in manipulating electoral processes, not just in the United States, but around the world. The entertainment industry, she testifies, wasn't just politically influential, it was actively involved in determining who held power in governments across multiple continents. We weren't just making campaign contributions, Loren reveals, we were actively involved in selecting candidates, crafting their public personas, and using our cultural influence to sway public opinion in specific directions. The process involved sophisticated psychological profiling of target populations, allowing Hollywood operatives to craft messages that would resonate with specific demographic groups. The manipulation extended to international affairs, with major film releases timed to coincide with foreign elections, trade negotiations, and diplomatic initiatives. Every major geopolitical event had a Hollywood component, she explains. We were essentially a shadow State Department, using cultural influence to achieve what traditional diplomacy couldn't accomplish. Loren describes meetings where the outcomes of presidential elections were discussed as foregone conclusions, with Hollywood's role being to ensure public acceptance of predetermined results. Democracy was theater, she confesses, and we were the stage managers making sure the show went according to script. Hollywood's secret partnership with Silicon Valley. As technology evolved, so did Hollywood's capacity for manipulation and control. Sophia Loren reveals that the entertainment industry formed secret partnerships with emerging technology companies, decades before these relationships became publicly known. creating a surveillance and influence network of unprecedented scope. They saw the potential of computers and digital technology long before the public did, Loren testifies. While people thought Hollywood was just adapting to new technologies, we were actually helping to design them specifically for control and manipulation purposes. The partnerships involved major technology firms that would later become household names, but whose early development was guided by Hollywood's specific needs for population control. The collaboration extended to the development of social media platforms, search algorithms, and digital content delivery systems, all designed to maximize the entertainment industry's ability to influence human behavior on a global scale. Every major technological advancement was evaluated for its potential to enhance our control over public consciousness, she reveals. The internet wasn't developed for information sharing, Loren confesses, in perhaps her most chilling revelation. It was designed as the ultimate surveillance and influence tool, with Hollywood's needs being a primary consideration in its architecture. Her testimony suggests that the digital age wasn't an accident, it was a carefully orchestrated evolution, designed to give entertainment industry power brokers unprecedented access to human minds, reshaping humanity through entertainment. Sophia Loren's revelations reached their most disturbing peak as she describes what she calls the Global Indoctrination Program, a multi-generational effort to fundamentally reshape human consciousness through carefully crafted entertainment content. This wasn't just about influencing political opinions or consumer behavior. It was about altering the basic ways humans think, feel, and relate to each other. They had a 100-year plan, Loren reveals, her voice carrying the weight of decades of suppressed knowledge. Every generation was targeted with specific content designed to move humanity in predetermined directions. We weren't just entertaining people, we were systematically rewiring the human psyche across entire populations. The program involved coordination between Hollywood, educational institutions, religious organizations, and government agencies to create a seamless indoctrination environment that people experienced from birth to death. Children's programming was especially important, she explains. They understood that shaping young minds was the key to long-term success. The goals, according to Loren's testimony, weren't merely about profit or political control, they were about creating a more manageable human population through the systematic erosion of critical thinking, traditional social bonds, and individual autonomy. They wanted to create a species that was more predictable, more compliant, and more dependent on the systems they controlled. She confesses, those who fought back and paid the price throughout her decades of silence. Sophia Loren witnessed numerous attempts by Hollywood insiders to resist or expose the dark network she's now revealing. Her testimony about these brave individuals and their ultimate fates provides some of the most heartbreaking moments in her confessions. There were heroes, she says, tears streaming down her face. Beautiful, talented, powerful people who tried to fight back against this system. But the network was too strong, too well-connected, too ruthless in dealing with threats. She describes actors, directors, writers, and producers who attempted to use their platforms to expose the truth, only to find themselves systematically destroyed. Some resistors were discredited through carefully orchestrated scandals, their reputations destroyed, and their careers ended. Others faced more direct intimidation threats against their families, mysterious accidents, or sudden health crises that removed them from positions of influence. The message was clear, Loren explains: comply or be destroyed. The most tragic cases, according to her testimony, were those who thought they could work within the system to create positive change. They were naive to think they could reform something so fundamentally corrupt, she reveals. The network had protocols for dealing with internal threats, and they were completely ruthless in implementing them. Why Sophia Loren is finally speaking, now 88 years old. Sophia Loren's decision to finally break her silence isn't just about clearing her conscience, it's about preventing the complete implementation of what she describes as the final phase of Hollywood's decades-long plan for global control. Her recent awareness of developments in artificial intelligence, digital surveillance, and social media manipulation convinced her that humanity is approaching a point of no return. They're almost finished, she reveals, her voice urgent despite her age. All the groundwork they laid over the past 70 years is coming together into something that will make resistance impossible. If I don't speak now, if people don't understand what's happening, there may not be another chance. Loren describes recent technological developments as the culmination of plans she witnessed being discussed in secret meetings decades ago. They always knew this day would come, she explains, when technology would be sophisticated enough to complete their vision of total control over human consciousness and behavior. Her decision to speak out, despite the obvious dangers, reflects both her age and her growing horror at seeing the final pieces of the conspiracy falling into place. I'm an old woman, she says simply. They can't hurt me the way they once could, but they can still complete their plan if people don't wake up to what's really happening. As Sophia Loren's incredible testimony draws to a close, We're left with a chilling portrait of an industry and a world far different from anything we thought we knew. Her revelations, spanning 7 decades of Hollywood's darkest secrets, paint a picture of systematic manipulation, control, and exploitation that extends far beyond the entertainment industry into the very foundations of modern society. The legendary actress, now in her twilight years, has chosen courage over silence, truth over safety, and justice over complicity. Her decision to finally speak out represents not just the confession of one woman, but the testimony of an entire generation of entertainers who were trapped in a system they couldn't escape and couldn't expose. I may not live to see the full consequences of what I've revealed, Loren admits in her final words, but I'll die knowing I finally told the truth. The rest is up to the world to decide what to do with this knowledge. Her story reminds us that behind the glamour, the fame, and the fantasy of Hollywood lay real people facing impossible choices, bound by secrets that could destroy not just careers but entire civilizations. And now, thanks to one brave woman's final act of defiance, those secrets are finally beginning to see the light. What do you think about Sophia Loren's shocking revelations? Have you ever suspected that Hollywood's influence extended far beyond entertainment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more explosive Hollywood secrets that they never wanted you to know. Truth has been hidden for far too long, but now, finally, it's beginning to emerge from the shadows. The revolution of truth starts with each one of us. Share this video and help spread the message that Sophia Loren risked everything to reveal.